Hello, everybody. We have yet another session of Meet a Writer, and today I am joined by Jovina, whose Instagram account username is Jovina Poetry. Is it correct?
Yeah, yeah, that's correct.
Jovina Poetry, and I'm very excited about this session because she was so eager to join me and be interviewed. So, hello, Jovina. Hi.
Hi, Laura. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for accepting the invite because I really enjoy bringing in new writers to the kind of field because I feel like we don't get to learn lots of things about them, and also connecting with each other from different parts of the world is incredible, I think.
Yeah.
So before we get into your writing and your pieces, I wanted to know one thing.
Mhm.
Can you tell us a little bit about yourself? When did you start writing? Why did you start writing? And where are you joining us from?
Okay, yeah. So I'm Jovina, and I am my full-time job is being a PhD student in chemical engineering at University of Pittsburgh. So right now I'm kind of sneaking into this meeting from my PhD office. So yeah, and I am
That
joining.
was so impressive. I thought of like shutting up and not saying anything, but that was so impressive.
Thank you. And as I said, I'm a PhD student at University of Pittsburgh. So I am joining from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And talking about starting to write, so I don't think I have like an exact age for you because I feel like it was always in me. Like growing up, whenever I would get a chance to write something as a part of my courses, like writing a diary entry and all, I would feel so excited about writing it. So I don't know how to not count that. So, but yeah, like I might have written a poem or two growing up, but and my undergrad was when I started writing pretty regularly. So, yeah, that was maybe like, let me see, I'm in my third year of PhD and I'm fresh out of undergrad. So I think, yeah, that was around 7 to 8 years ago. So, yeah, that's how long I've been writing poetry for.
Oh my God, this is so impressive. You're like, I've always been into writing, and and your PhD is in chemical engineering. Am I right? So
Yeah.
it's like, wow, I've always been into writing, and now you're doing a completely different yeah, it's a thing, but still, I mean, I'm not. This is just me pointing out facts. It's really impressive that you connect and you have so many different interests in you, which is really beautiful, and I love that. And I think that you also bring that aspect into your writing, which brings me to another question. Do you actually connect those two together? So like, do you take those things, your findings or your research or anything that you're doing, and bringing it into your writing, into your poetry?
There's definitely some level of blending, but it's it might not be me using my science metaphors in my poetry, but there is something. So, like I always write about how I feel. I cannot make up stuff. So sometimes when my experiments are not working or I'm having a really tough time in my PhD, it will show up in my poems. So I have written about struggle or about not giving up, and some of it that comes from my day job. So yeah, there is definitely some sort of blending.
That is really inspiring, and I love the fact that you're saying like, I'm not inventing anything, and it's everything that comes from the heart and everything that you are feeling at the moment. And have you so there's this important topic that I think we should talk about. And um sometimes when we write, so like usually in creative writing, it's okay that people interpret different pieces differently, but my
Yeah.
question for you is that do you ever have this fear that somebody will misinterpret your piece, and what do you do in those cases, or you're okay with people interpreting the piece differently and however they want?
I've always had that fear. I still do. But And I think that everyone does have the freedom of interpreting my piece in their own ways. One thing I worry about whenever I put something out there is, may I not have a negative effect on anyone. So, if I'm writing a sad poem, I want somebody to relate to it and feel less alone. I don't want them to become sad because of me. So, yeah, the consolation I use is that, there's just the hope that I am sending something out with a good intention, and may that be how it is. So, yeah, that's how I feel.
You're so sweet. You're very sweet. And actually, the thought that you mentioned about like somebody not feeling alone. So whenever I post something sad and then people write that they relate to it, I'm like, in the past I would be like, oh, thank you so much, I'm so happy you relate. And then so I didn't mean that you relate to my emotional state, which is like being sad, but I'm happy that it resonated with you, that it's not just me I'm writing about, that you feel less alone. And that's what I also saw in your way of thinking and the way that you write, which was, I don't know, I think very sweet and thoughtful.
Thank you.
So I know there's this piece that I really liked on your account that I wanted us to dig into. So if you feel, so I'm gonna read the piece in case you remember or maybe not. So I want us to go into it a little bit. If you could share us the background, like the backstory of the piece, or if it's really intimate, then please don't. But share whatever you can. So
Of course.
here's how it goes. Here they are, and they adore you. They are eager to know your story. Maybe it's time to give love a second chance and give them their first. So now, my first question when I read this piece, I was like, who are those people? Like, who are they that you call in your poetry? So, in this piece, so can you share anything about this piece?
Yeah, of course, I'd love to. So, this was something I wrote when I could see there is somebody who is romantically interested in me, but um, when at the time this was happening, it was over 2 years that I was getting over somebody. I was in a stage of my life where I had unrequited feelings for somebody, and it was breaking my heart, and I got went through complicated phases. And the thing is, I would always think that, may somebody also adore me the way I adore them. And then when somebody like that entered my life, I was like, maybe, this is the moment when I should understand that it was not love's fault that my feelings were not returned. It was nobody's fault, and these things just happen. So let me give this person their first chance. And since it was my personal second chance with love, because there was a romantic failure I was moving past. So yeah, that is what I meant by giving love a second chance and giving them their first. So yeah.
Wow, this story is so beautiful, and I feel like I'm getting that insight info as a friend that you usually wouldn't like instantly give to the person. So I'm grateful and so touched by the fact that you shared this with me and with the audience as well. Obviously,
Thank
that
you.
was. Thank you for sharing, and thank you for trusting us enough with your feelings and your story to be able to share this with us. And Also, I wanted to know, is there a piece by yourself that you really like? What's your favorite piece that you like that was written by you? Because I remember I saw a video on your account where you were actually reciting your own piece, and you were like, once I sorry if I'm forgetting a few words or confusing things, but it was like, once I wrote a poem that made me so happy, and then you get emotional and start shining. So it might not be that one, but I would love to know what's your favorite piece written by you.
Okay, I will need a few seconds to think. Um, uh, Give me 1 second. Yeah, as I said, I'm sneaking into this meeting, so yeah, whatever. Yeah, I will need a few seconds. So there are a few pieces that are my favorite. There are like, I write from the heart, as I mentioned. So, but there is one which is a happy piece. I'll just open it on my laptop pretty quick and just read it for you all, if that's okay. So, the reason why I love this piece particularly is because I just think it does capture my own personality really well. And I feel like nobody else can do that for me because I know the most about myself. But also, another thing which I like about the piece is that there are so many women that could relate to different parts of this piece. So, the piece is titled Forever the Girl Who, and then here's how it goes. Forever the girl who marks beautiful sentences in books and goes back to them later. Writes while sipping hazelnut lattes and blushes when the barista compliments her smile. Would rather sit beside you in restaurants than across from you. Terrifies her mom by telling her how much she loves you. Gets a little too excited about things and ignores when people ask her to calm down. Feels scared at the thought of losing you and holds you tight till the thought dissipates. Cries when people raise their voices at her and complains about them in therapy. Can't hide a single thing she feels and does not want to either. Dreams of a world where everyone loves each other and authenticity is the norm. Writes poems in the hope that they reach the ones who need them. Will fly to the moon but will come back every night to sleep beside you. Forever the girl who wants to come home to you.
Oh my god! I loved it. First of all, I loved the way you were reading it, and I could absolutely see that you will love it so much. And also the way that you were like moving around. You'll see it later in the interview. It was awesome. Like the way that you were moving around, your facial expressions, the way that you were reading it. That's one. And I also loved the statement. I was wondering like how I missed that piece on your account. I think I'll have to go back and recheck it. But it's so beautiful. Especially my favorite line was that girl who flies to the moon and then comes back to sleep next to you. That was so cute. And
Yeah, like,
I don't know. I loved it a lot. And thank you so much for reading it because I don't know, it made me personally understand how much you love what you're doing and how much you love writing and putting your feelings in it. And it's awesome. Thank you so much for
thank you
sharing with us.
for giving me like a place to share this. Like, loved reading it out.
Of course, that's my favorite thing to do, to be very honest with you. And I know that you also have a book.
Oh, yeah.
It's called It's Dawn, right?
Mhm.
So, can you tell us a little bit about the book? Anything that you'd like to share about it? And how did you start, like, thinking of the idea of having a book?
Yeah, thank you for asking that, first of all. So I'll answer the second part of your question. Um, when I started writing poems, I picked up a book by Rupi Kaur, Sun and Her Flowers, and then that started my journey of reading poetry books. I kept reading one book after another. Even now, 70% of my collection is poetry books. And now this is very funny because after reading so many books, I got the idea, hey, I can write one. I have so many poems I've written. But then, there's this inertia where you wouldn't start doing something you are thinking of doing. But when I was applying to this PhD program, I did mention to my potential advisor that I do write a lot of poetry. Like, just, like a basic chit chat, getting to know the um, other person you're gonna work with for 5 years. So he was like, "Oh, I'm curious what you write. Could you like share some of your poems with me?" And then I put some of the poems into the document, and very funnily, that document became the start of my book manuscript because then I kept adding poems to it. So, yeah, like, because since this was a professional world, I couldn't just, share my Instagram with him or something. He was not on Instagram, he's like in academia. So, like, yeah, that's how the book writing began. About your but about me talking about the book, there's a lot on Instagram, but here I'd like to tell you all something which is not anywhere. So the title.
Yay! Tell us something we don't
Yeah,
know.
there's something I'm gonna spill about the title. It's Dawn. So, I'm very obsessed with the idea of nights turning into morning. It's such a beautiful concept, you know. Yeah, whatever happened, but look, the lights again, lights here again. But I was in a writers' meeting in my undergrad, you know, just students coming together and then we are given a theme and we write. So there was this word I received, fetus, and that was the prompt. So I wrote about a fetus talking to the mother while being in her womb, and this mother is struggling a lot, she has a lot going on, and then this fetus was telling the mother that let it be dawn, I'm gonna come, we'll be the best of friends, you wear your cape and fight the world, you are strong. So you know that and that is something I relate a lot to, because my mother tells me that when I was born, that made her very strong. And she there was so much she survived just so that she could give me a good life. So you know, the excessive motivation you get to get your life together when you have somebody who's dependent on you, that was the idea behind the title. That, you know, when a baby is born, the light's there, irrespective of how dark it can get. So yeah, that poem's very close to my heart, and that's where the title comes from.
Wow, you actually made me so emotional with the story that was connected. I had no idea that it could be connected like to your mom, to your feelings about Dawn in general. And first of all, again, thank you for sharing this with me and with us. But I loved the meaning behind it. I'm obsessed with things, and it depends. Like, it doesn't matter what it is. If there's a deeper meaning in something that people don't know, and then you share it at some point with people, to me it gets even more special, and I adore those things. That's why I love that. And the way that you're obsessed with dawn itself, with the idea and with the phenomenon, I am obsessed with sunsets. so so every time I see a sunset, I every single day I will take a picture of a sunset. If I don't miss it, if I miss it, it's like, no, we're like missing the sunset, we should hurry up and see where it's visible from. So I get that feeling a lot. Yours is a deeper feeling and a deeper story than that. Mine is just, I don't know, I feel like it's so special, and I'm very emotionally like connected to the whole thing. Whenever I see it, I feel like I can breathe. So I absolutely get the love. And again, so I loved the story that you shared it with us. And I also loved that. I have to comment on this, the story that you shared about the PhD, because uh how wonderful is life in that, in that sense, when two completely unrelated things then connect, and at the same time give birth to new ideas. Which is like, for example, you, how would you know that like sharing your poems, like even talking about your poems, could bring you to having a book of poetry, which is one of the most amazing things, which is like, that's the moment when I'm like, ah, there's fate, there's something called destiny, there's magic, there's everything. So yeah, it's
Yeah.
awesome. Very
There's faith
inspiring.
and magic, and then there's a document which is now ready. So
Absolutely. It's like, I don't know. I don't even know how to and I love those things when you already know the reality, like the, let's say, future, and then you go back to things which happened in the past, and you're like, "Oh, so I guess this happened because this had to
yeah,
happen later on." It's really really beautiful.
I
And
yeah,
yeah,
the
this is,
idea of things like just falling into place when we are looking back. It's beautiful. I agree with you.
yeah, it really is. And sometimes you don't even know that doing something or saying something could potentially lead to something even more meaningful later on. And I love that. So I want to talk about like writing in general. You've been, I think, here for a while, or is are you new to the community, or you've been like, let's say your account? How long have you had your account?
I don't remember the exact duration for which I've had the account, but I can tell you that for the past 3 to 4 years, I've been very diligently trying to promote my poems on Instagram. So, yeah, that's the duration I think I should give for being a part of this poetry community on Instagram.
Do your friends and family members know that you have a poetry account, or do you keep it secret?
They do know, but I have this boundary with everyone that nobody will ask me who this poem is written for, because then that makes it very complicated for me. So yeah.
And I did, and I did
Oh
ask.
no no no. That's like this is a different place. The problem with a friend asking is that they know the names of specific people, and my intention behind writing poetry is not to tell people how one person is, but instead to tell them that this happened to me, and if it happened to you as well, we are in it together. So that's the only reason why I have this boundary. So don't worry about it. I'm happy to answer questions on this platform.
So I actually agree with the way that you feel, because so I was keeping my account secret for a very long time, and then for some reason it was bringing as a suggested account to the people that I know, and then they just found me, and then they kept finding out about my account, and then they kept telling each other, and now lots of the people that I know are actually on my account. And then when I tell a story, or whenever, let's say, I'm feeling sad and I'm sharing something, and then they're like, are you okay? Are you doing fine? What happened? Can you tell us? Is this about this one? It's or is this about your friendship with this person and stuff like that? And I know where it can actually get very limiting, because even during times when I'm sad, and it's not like really really sad or something,
Yeah,
i I like to go to writing whenever I'm sad,
of
and I
course.
think that I'm even better at writing whenever I'm sad versus when I'm happy. So I usually take a moment and I pause it and I don't share it for a few days, and then I share it to give them the idea that I'm already over that situation or over that sad moment. So because I know it's really sweet and very very thoughtful of them to be worried about me, but at the same time it gets limiting to the point where you can't share how you exactly feel just because of that.
Yeah, I completely agree. While writing, one major rule is that you don't hold back. And if while writing you start thinking about the responses you'll get, you will definitely hold back. So, this trick you use about posting a poem a few days after you've gone through the feeling, I do the same. Not always, because sometimes I have this overwhelming urge to just post. So, but yeah, and I also appreciate the concern. Now I can anticipate the "Are you okay" messages sometimes when I'm posting something. But yeah, exactly the same situation.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm not saying that it's a bad thing that they're worried. That's very sweet,
Yeah,
and
very
I yeah, and I appreciate the fact that I have people around me who are worried about me, but I know you got the point. I know you understand what I was saying. And so do you have what's your favorite thing about the writing community on Instagram? I know you also have lots of different friends on Instagram who are writers, and what's your favorite thing about the community?
Um, like if it's obviously my favorite thing is the art I get to consume. There is so much of it and it's so beautiful, and it helps me write better. Plus it's just so sweet and so beautiful to see people pouring themselves out into their art. So that's obviously my favorite thing. But something else that is worth mentioning is that I don't know, I feel like the average amount of goodness in these poets is a little greater than the average amount of goodness in the rest of the world. I love people, don't get me wrong, but these folks are so supportive. Like, I when I had my book out, I wanted people to write me a review, and I reached out to these poets, and they left such wonderful reviews. Like, it's just so good. And I remember one moment when I posted on Threads how difficult it is to gain a following or maintain a community on Instagram. It's so difficult to, just be visible amidst the entire pool of pictures and videos and reels and everything. So, and then I got so much engagement on Threads, and people went to my Instagram, checked out my poems. So, yeah, support is one thing, one other thing which I love about the community.
I actually found you on Threads as well. So our connection started from Threads. So you so I and this was really really shocking to me at the time. So a while ago, months ago, I wrote the post that I was like, I want to interview different writers, and I was wondering if anybody would love to be part of that. And so I knew that I had a certain amount of following, but not on Threads, on Instagram. So I was like, okay, so I'll get just, I don't know, maximum, like, I don't know, 50, 60 responses to people wanting to be interviewed. And then I got more than 300 comments on that post, and I was like, I was I was really really shocked, because I was like, okay, so now it suddenly became depressing instead of being inspiring, because even if I interview one person every single day, I won't get it done till next year. So I was like, what am I gonna do? When I started like randomly reaching out and trying to fit into schedules and stuff. So that's how I also found you, because you were like, oh yeah, I'd love to be interviewed. And then I saw your profile picture. You had a wonderful smile, and I was like, I really want to reach out to her. And that's how I found you. And that's why it's funny that you talked about Threads, and I was like, that's how we found each other as well. And then I went to your account and checked out your poetry and started following you, and that's how it all began. And yeah, that's again one of the things that I really appreciate about the writing community here on Instagram. Is because they're very 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 supportive, and that's so sweet, because sometimes you're afraid of that, like, competition, because we're writing completely different things, and we're going through different things. So it's not about competition, it's about uplifting each other. And so my question to you is, like, talking about competition, do you ever compare your pieces to others' pieces and feel like, maybe mine's not good enough, or maybe like their pieces are so beautiful, and I don't know, do you feel like insecure sometimes when you about your writing?
It does happen a lot, especially when I was writing my book. There was a moment when I told my roommate, hey, I don't think I know how to write. I feel like all of this is just something I made up in my head, that I'm a poet, and I don't think I can publish this book. So, yeah, my roommate's my best friend, and he's very supportive. So, he's like, it's okay, this is just a phase, it will pass. You are under a lot of pressure. So, yeah, insecurity has been there in me, but that book publishing was like a while ago. So right now my current state is that I do consume a lot of art, and I do know that I have a long way to go, but these days I just like try to look at how how folks who are having a lot of following are posting. Like, even you, like, I did go through your account, you might have noticed, because I did interact. So yeah, I was looking at the aesthetics of your post, the captions you are using, the times you are posting, just to see what works. So yeah, that is where I am right now. But uh, right now, I don't feel a competition spirit necessarily, but that is because I know, as you said, our pieces are very different and all, and I do feel that most of us poets believe in the concept of abundance, that we will find our people and nobody can stop us from doing that. So I feel like that eliminates that feeling of competition, and it just, collapses to a willingness to just support each other. So that's how I feel.
Yeah, and I absolutely agree with you. And I love the fact that you're saying like, oh yeah, I'm taking a look at other, I'm looking at other accounts to understand the technical part of it, or maybe to just get inspired and everything like that. But you know that you don't even think about competition because you know that you will find your audience yourself, and that's, I think, very very beautiful, and again very inspiring as well itself. And do you have moments where you're you feel like there's just a blank page in your head and you have nothing on your mind and you're like facing a writer's block? If yes, then what are you doing in that moment? Because sometimes I'm like, I have nothing to write about, and I'm like, really? Like I'm living every single day and I have nothing to write about. So what do you do in those situations?
It has definitely happened with me a lot. So yeah, like I keep having these phases. So there was, if you know Chloe Frayne, she's an Australian poet. I read one of her posts in which she was talking about how to be a poet, and I follow the. She told three things. One, live a life that is worth writing about. And then there was another, to like read a lot, read the greats and all, so that you can be inspired to write. And second, I don't remember. Like the third one, I don't remember. But so right now, if I am not able to write anything at all, some days I'll just take it easy. I'll be like, whatever. Other days I'll just go to a bookstore and, I'll just start reading. And even then I might not be able to write, but it's like I am consuming something, so I know that this will show up after 10 days. I will end up coming up with something because I am doing my research at least. Like, it's so important to consume art as well. So I focus on the consumption when I have nothing to create. So, yeah.
That's great that you have like the patience to do it, and then you also get sometimes, because I start pressuring myself. I'm like, you have nothing to write about, and then every single day I'm like, oh, you're not writing, but it's good that you're giving yourself time to do it. And I also like the first one that you mentioned about like living a life that is worth writing about.
Yeah.
That's truly motivating, and I'll keep that in mind whenever I'm out of ideas. I'm like, so what can I do to live a life that is worth writing
Yeah,
about?
I feel like that's the question we need to ask ourselves. So,
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with you. And uh as a kind of slowly concluding question, I was wondering if you're thinking about writing another book.
oh, yes, I am. I am writing the manuscript. I don't have the title. I don't know who I'm gonna dedicate the book to. So, I don't even have an idea of how the poems will flow in the book. There are just a bunch of poems in there. But second book is definitely gonna be there. It might just take a while, and I feel like I shouldn't give a deadline right now because every day I keep coming up with something, right? I mean with time. So yeah, that's where I'm at with my second book.
That is very exciting, and we will be looking forward to your book. um I'm sending lots of like inspiration and ideas and
Aw,
emotions your way.
sending all of that back to you. Poet to
Thank,
poet.
thank you. I'm pretty sure both of us need all of that for sure. So I'm
Yeah,
sending it to you, you're sending it back to me. That's a mutually beneficial process for sure.
definitely.
So, as like let's say the last question, or maybe just a piece of like food for thought for you, it's like, I am very, very, very happy that you came to this interview and shared some of the personal stories, inspirations, and piece of advice with us. And I wanted to know if there's anything that you'd like to share before we say goodbye, or like see you soon, maybe later, because I'm sure we'll also have some interviews later on. So if there's anything that you want to share, or maybe you want to talk about, yeah, let me know.
Let me see. Like, I just say that everything passes. I mean, that's something I am learning the hard way. That when we are feeling something, sometimes we feel that this is how we'll always feel, but neither joy nor pain last forever. I mean, yeah, I know how loss is. We just keep growing around it. But I feel like as poets as or non-poets, readers, non-readers, whoever we are, we should just remember everything is temporary till an extent, and we might carry something in us, but we should, like, I think that's a very powerful thought, that everything's gonna change, so let's just hold on, like, just be be strong and like bravely, like, just move through life. So yeah.
Thank you for these supporting words. I'm pretty sure that everybody needs to hear this. This is a very beautiful reminder that sometimes we forget and then we think like, oh, it's too hard and stuff, which it is a lot of the times. Life is hard itself, but I'm very, very thankful that there are people like you who take the opportunity to keep reminding people about this, and then supports them and motivates them to be strong and then continue living because it's going to pass. I really, really love that. We're going to wait for your second book. Meanwhile, I will link your account and also your book in the description of this video so that people go and read and check out and leave lots of beautiful comments and words before we can enjoy the second one.
Thank you so much. That would be very helpful. Like, and this was so much of fun. I mean, like, it was nice talking about all of that. Like, writing has been a positive experience for me. So, you know how it is. You are also a poet. I don't need to talk about how talking about poetry heals you. So, but yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I think that for me as well, like doing these interviews is a constant reminder to me that the world is full of beautiful people. Two, it's like b is the fact that it reminds me how much I love writing and talking about writing, and c is that it really does, like, writing itself has a huge healing component. Even talking about it is healing you in another way, so I absolutely agree with you. And
Uh,
this is today's portion of healing for me.
it is for me as well. Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It means a lot to me.
Thank you so much for coming here and for kind of helping me build a friendship and our, like, writer connection that we are building through this interviews. Thank you so much, and I hope you get the PhD and everything goes well so that you can pay the whole attention to your upcoming books
I
instead.
wish that, I wish that as well. Well, good luck for your poetry journey as well. And thank you. Lots of love. Bye.
Bye.